Well, hello. Good morning, streaming world. Welcome to another episode of the Ted Manila Information Show, also known as TMI for short, where we bring you way too much information. Anything from news, politics. I think we're heavy on the politics this week for obvious reasons.
Yeah, well, don't know why.
Lifestyle.
Streaming
I don't
world,
know.
that sort of sounds like a urinary conference or urologist conference. Come to Streaming World
Hello.
24 in Dallas, Texas. So we're staying at the Hilton. It's going to be awesome.
It's a big pee party. We also talk about weird stuff like that, right? The taboo, the occult. Anything and everything goes here because you can really never have too much information. So, word of warning, this is not a straight-laced, button-down news program. If that's what you're looking for, this is not going to be for you. If this type of weird stuff is for you, a word to the wise, lower the volume if you're at work, because we tend to drop a few F-bombs here and there. And it's all the stuff that you already know that you want to hear about, and you want to hear us, your streaming friends are going to be talking about, and then stuff that you didn't know that you wanted to know. And then, of course, we're going to always laugh along the way, because for those who have been following Ted and I for a while, you know that we have a little lightheartedness, maybe some sardonical humor.
Very little.
You know?
Very,
Yeah,
very,
bit.
very little. Very little. Yeah.
Little. And then we are live, of course, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and follow the show, share us, spread the word, become a monthly subscriber. If you're on the Rumble feed on your desktop, you can do so in the live chat at the bottom of the chat. You'll be able to hit the subscribe button that's right next to that dollar sign. And that's where you can become a $5 a month subscriber. And if you're unable to do so, please share us, tweet us, share us with your friends.
Do the free subscription on YouTube. There's nothing. All it means, you're not committed to anything. All it means is that we come up in your little short list of things that you listen to regularly. That's all.
And then
it's like a bookmark.
It tells the YouTube.
That's all.
It tells the YouTube algorithm that people are actually watching us, and that'll actually help propel the show.
Call from anybody. No one's gonna.
Good for a monthly subscription.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we are going to gin up a structure like that, where we'll come over and clean your house, or
groom
your pets, whatever you need.
Or we can prank call the people you don't like and talk trash to them.
Or the people you do like. We don't care how you feel.
We'll offer that to you. Yeah. So the Ted Manila
your NPR Sally, our voice on your answering machine, if you have it.
That's pretty good one. That's a good one. I like that. Well, with that, the TMI show starts now.
Hey, we got our music back. I just want to take note of that and celebrate that, because it's such good music. Every time, it's very important psychologically when you have a radio show that the song that comes up, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, My City Was Gone by the Pretenders was Rush Limbaugh's opening.
Really?
Isn't that weird? But it has a great, of course, it's the Pretenders, so it's an amazing guitar line. And it gets you going. It jazzes you up. I used to have a J Church song, band from San Francisco.
It sets the tone of the show.
And it gets you going. You're like, if you're the host, I don't know if it does anything for the audience at all, but it's really for the host.
Well, I think, and also for the morning, that was one of the gripes that you and I had, because we wanted to use this song originally on our old show. That got mixed, and then we got headbanger, like
Russian Russian. Yeah, you're it sounded like from the bowels of Finland. We bring you
some weird Euro hard rock metal, not even hard rock.
I did like the countdown aspect, though. That also jazzes you up. 5, 4. Yeah. It was cheesy.
I did like that part.
But it worked. Yeah.
But it works. And it helps you as mental cues of when you have to actually start the show. So, that's supposed to be.
And the logo was great of the old show. I like our logo a lot. But our old
fun.
Ours
is
logo
fun.
was like, it kind of looked like, it literally looked Soviet, like, from the Soviet space program. It was awesome.
That. I love old Soviet like propaganda stuff. Like, well, you're a propaganda collector, so I like that old art. So I dig that. That music though at 10 a.m. Eastern, Ted. Like, I mean,
yeah, it's good. It's hard to beat. No, it's really good.
Music. That old music. I mean, I think it was just a lot, and I think this music is a lot better. And we had to fight some YouTube scammers who were trying to steal our music and claim
literally,
it as their own.
literally, they literally do this, and it's a problem actually. If you're a YouTuber, I guess you need to know about this. So they're basically bots, and they literally automatically contact every new show and claim that whatever music you're playing is copyright infringement. And it kind of preys on the fact that on YouTube there is a lot of copyright infringement, right? So a lot of people are using music they're not supposed to or whatever. We're not. And not everybody, and other people also are like us. They either compose their own, or they or in many cases they compose their own, or they license it, or they buy it. Anyway, these guys, what they do is they send you a cease and desist through YouTube. And basically, they keep bugging you until you agree to pay them and sign over the rights to your music to them, and then rent the music back from them. I mean, it's literally a shakedown operation.
It's such a scam.
They
so that's why
killed. I said it. They should be killed. Yeah.
That's why we didn't have music for a couple of days, and that's
from
why
we're back to they should die naturally.
Yes, that's right. They should die of natural causes, and you hope those natural causes come with swiftness tomorrow. But
yes.
Now, speaking of that's tomorrow. Let's talk about yesterday. So we're still in election hangover mode. I'm not
going anywhere. Keep talking. I've got to so I have this weird situation here at my setup where the sun comes in just as the show starts and starts to blind me, and I have to move the blind.
It's because of the time change.
Well, it's also like, if you believe in the whole circular Earth theory.
Oh, well, there's that.
Yeah. Anyway,
but yeah. So Ted's going to close the blinds. I personally think Ted should go back to his office. That's my impression. Is like, I think it looks cooler seeing all of his stuff. We can see his shadow moving. I think that's kind of funny. But I personally think Ted should move back to his office.
I could do that, but it's good for me to just have like a different setting. Also, Clovis much prefers me to be here because he likes to sit on the sofa and observe and watch the show. And whereas if I'm in my office, there's no real cat place for him to hang out.
Place. All right. With that, let's talk about yesterday. So in case you missed it,
let's get into it. All right. No way you missed it.
The loser offered an uplifting and positive charge to her support as she conceded the 2024 election to Donald Trump, acknowledging this. It's not even just a stinging loss, guys. I mean, Trump, to borrow from Obama, Trump walloped her. And it's not just her. He walloped the entire Democratic establishment and the whole system, the DNC. Trump walloped them. But so let's listen to some of what she said, and of course we'll have commentary along the way. But she noted that she obviously, before she stepped on stage, she called and conceded officially to Donald Trump, but not before Joe Biden had his phone call with Donald Trump, inviting Trump to the White House to, hang out, bro. Let's talk about transition and stuff. And I can only imagine that Biden.
Oh my God! Wait, they're going to become girls?
I think.
Different transition.
Yeah. Okay, possibly. Sorry. But it's 2024, Ted. It's possible.
It could happen.
Don't know.
They could be transition brothers become transition sisters.
It could happen.
Like I've always wanted to. I always think women are the best sex. I'd like to be a woman. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Now I'm free to be me, the real me.
Before we even get into Harris talking and hearing from her, which a lot of her speech was literally lifted from Hillary Clinton's concession speech in 2016. I've seen plenty of videos
Just
comparing
like her
side
whole
by side.
campaign.
It was lifted from Biden. Do you think there was any do you think there's more to what we're hearing about, Biden called and Harris called, but the fact that Biden called before Harris's actual concession, that he called and reached out to Trump first, do you think there was something to that?
Well, wait. So I just want to be clear here. Are you saying? I mean, I know he called before her speech at Howard University yesterday
And
afternoon.
before she talked to him, before she
4
conceded.
o'clock hour here on the East Coast. But like, didn't she call him to concede? She called Trump first, right? Did she call Trump before Joe? Or I mean, she did call Trump.
Joe called first to invite Trump to the White House, and then several hours later, the Harris
what I
team
read into
said
that is
Harris
that they're not. What I'm reading is that what we've heard from inside this White House for a long time is that there is really very little communication between the president and the vice president's staff. There was a failure to coordinate here, obviously. I mean, I don't think it's like, that's what I wouldn't read that this is like an FU to her. I think it's more just like, they don't talk to each other. They don't like each other.
I think that's exactly it. That's, I think, what I'm getting at is this is evidence that the two teams don't actually like each other. And
there's been numerous reports to that effect. Yeah. And by the way, how you know it's true? No one's ever denied it. No one in the White House has ever said, "Oh no, I'm on the president's staff and we love each other. It's awesome." No one's ever denied it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's listen.
Please welcome the Vice President of the United States.
God, that guy's got such a cheesy voice. He sounds like a wedding DJ. And now dancing for the very first time as man and wife. All right, well, for people who are listening on the RSS feed here on Pandora or whatever, we see the vice president walking out, weirdly applauding her own crowd. I don't know why you would do that. Yes. You're on the stage. They're applauding you. You don't applaud them. That's how this works.
That's not how this works.
Okay. So anyway, yeah.
He's behind plated glass. By the way, she's behind bulletproof glass.
This video down. Here we go.
Wanted to show it as much as we could. He's behind bulletproof glass. We should note.
Well, considering certain events this year for Trump, that's not unreasonable.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Okay, we heard you the first 4 times. Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a very good afternoon, Ted.
I'm speaking.
And I love you back. And I love you back.
Why does she repeat that?
She's so joyful.
Well, I know why.
My heart is full today. My heart is full today. Full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me. Full of love for our country. And full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for.
Hold on. Not what we voted for? You're damn straight. Not one primary voter voted for her.
But hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
I mean, this is such pablum, and I don't have a problem with pablum if it's delivered in a non-pablumy way. But it's like, don't feed me like, kittens are cute. No, they're cute. They're so cute. Don't pretend like you're saying something that we don't already know.
Right. Well, also the light that she's seeing, the light that burns bright from America, is
Star
the
bright.
light from the no, it's the bombs. It's the bombs that we supply all around the world.
Yeah.
So that those beautiful stars that you're seeing in the sky that she's going to talk about, you know, I'll
Well, those
skim
are
through.
Palestinian children going up to heaven.
Those are all the bombs that we've supplied to Israel and other stuff that we've supplied to Ukraine. Those aren't stars, Kamala.
As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting.
Wars.
For the right to party.
To my beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much.
Yeah, but beloved sort of
to
means
President
that you
Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support. To Governor Walz and the Walz family, I know your service to our nation will continue.
That I doubt.
And to my extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves.
For 60 long days.
To the poll work.
107, Ted.
She didn't do anything for the first 40. So, you know, I'm saying 60.
That's right. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I'm going to skim past her thank yous because, you know, it's just an obligatory.
I want to thank my agent. I want to thank the Academy.
It's just obligatory. So it was like
My
the
cat.
first 5 minutes really means nothing. But I feel like, I mean, maybe I'm giving away the punchline or I'm telling people, you know, I'm spoiling the movie for people. But her entire concession speech really was a whole lot of nothing.
Well, I mean, look, it was true to the spirit, to the spiritlessness of the campaign.
Fair. Okay, let's jump ahead.
Future. And we did it with the knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Now, I know
that does not appear to be true.
No, not true.
Folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
Veiled, very thinly veiled swipe at J6, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Very passive aggressive.
Yes, which is a very Kamala thing to do.
A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone
actually,
who seeks
I hate to
public
say it,
must
monarchy has peaceful transfer of power, mostly. I mean, you know, usually the monarch dies.
When do they transfer? Oh, well, because it's
the
usually their own family.
Or becomes incapacitated. And then the son or the daughter or whatever, the regent takes over.
I mean, dead Queen Elizabeth was not gonna, protest.
There have been,
Charles.
obviously, monarchs have been murdered and all that. But that's not like standard. The standard approach of monarchy is a peaceful transfer of power. Just saying.
True.
It. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States.
But that's exactly what the Democrats have done, was just annihilate for example, the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Yeah, we're here on this show because our former network was shut down by the United States government with no allegation of wrongdoing or violating even so much as a technical, regulation, right? Never was accused of any wrongdoing at all. They're like, fuck the First Amendment.
Tim Walz on the campaign trail, I think he was on MSNBC, which is obviously friendly territory, literally said that he had a problem with the First Amendment and that it needs to be curtailed. I'm paraphrasing, and I'm probably paraphrasing better than what he actually said,
Mm-hmm.
but he literally said he and his party and his campaign don't agree with the First Amendment. So,
yeah, don't forget, this is the administration that kept Julian Assange, in a torture prison for years.
Could have freed him. Yes, could have pardoned him completely. Of course, they brokered the deal for Assange's freedom. They said yes, but he had to
years later.
Yes, but he had to confess to being a
I
criminal.
mean, that might not have been as onerous
if
they had done it on January 21st, 2021. Just saying.
Right. So.
And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three.
Wait. What do you mean? To our God? Speaking of constitutional, secular government much? No.
Right.
No.
I found that
most Americans, very few Americans now really affiliate as religious anymore. Or I should say it's a declining number. And among those who do,
going back up, actually.
It's pro forma. It's like a lot of them are like, they claim to believe in God, but, they're not exactly dragging homeless people home with them in a way that indicates that they really truly believe they're going to be judged by St. Peter on Judgment Day for everything that they did in their life, and that's going to decide whether they get the express elevator upstairs or the one that goes straight down to where they're playing music all day.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different conversation.
It is.
Fast forward.
Anyway,
I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
And that would be the fight to climb her career ladder to the highest heights of President of the United States. That's really what it is. But, that's fine. Let's go a little forward. Let's advance this a little bit.
Okay.
For our democracy,
for
the rule of law, for equal justice, and for the sacred idea that every one of us, no matter who we are or where we start out, has certain fundamental rights and freedoms that must be respected and upheld. And we will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square. And we will also wage it in quieter ways, in how we live our lives.
God, I hate this.
By treating one another with kindness and respect. By looking in the face of a stranger.
Do you think that some of the black guys that are currently in prison, despite not having committed any crime, including the death row inmate that she sent to San Quentin, do you think they're watching this on the prison TV right now? Like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for my kindness call to come from Kamala. The kindness wasn't there for me.
I would say that more broadly, not even just her, it's her party and this fake be kind. There has been zero tolerance by people who are establishment Democrats for kindness towards anybody that had a different view than their own. There's been zero tolerance, zero kindness. In fact, they went as far as to try to cancel regular ass people, not even media people, regular people on old Twitter and of course still on Facebook,
that's true.
on Instagram. That is not kindness and showing tolerance. That's the exact opposite. They embodied hating your rival.
In fairness, if she decides to spend her post campaign, her post political life, because I know that there's like rumors out there that she wants to run in 28. That is not going to happen. Okay.
No.
We need to move on. We're at 25 after, and get through. We have a guest coming in 5 minutes, but I wanted to also just a very important guest. I wanted to just sort of say, I want to speculate a little bit. What do you think about this? I say Kamala Harris, you might have noticed, was not in a sad mood yesterday. And, Tim Walz was in a sad mood. He was almost crying. He may have been crying.
Her family was crying.
But I think Kamala knows that she's about to become rich, because just like the Clintons, she's going to get on the $1 million a speech bandwagon. She's going in for that sweet MSNBC money as a paid commentator. She's going to be the president of some overpaid president at some woman's college somewhere, Wesleyan.
I mean, she's young. She's not even 60 yet. So
yeah, well, no, she's 60.
Got a lot of time. Oh, she turned 60?
Yeah, I think she's my age. I mean, I'm 61. So basically, she's going to be rich as shit.
She's got a lot of time to make a lot of money. I would say when she stepped out on stage, and
don't forget also, there are ways that the campaign finance laws allow her to dip into some of that $1.2 billion that she raised.
Bingo.
I mean, she is never going to want for anything.
No,
She's currently worth $8 to $10 million. They're going to look back and be like, that was pennies.
They all know
she's going to be as rich as Nancy Pelosi in like 10 years.
When they run, they all know this is the cash cow. Like,
this is
but
the
I do
grift.
Think when she came out,
and she's
when she came out though, Ted, I looked and saw her face. There was a part of her, I think, that wanted the power, and her voice cracked a couple of times. And if you look under her eyes, and maybe because I'm a woman and I know about makeup and, lighting and stuff, it looked to me like she had been crying earlier.
Well, that's possible. I mean, it's also true that she must not have gotten much sleep the previous night.
Well, that's fair. But I think there was a part of her that was such a megalomaniac that she really thought she was going to become the first woman president. She really believed all the smoke that everyone blew up her ass. So I think that's
although she must have known she was going to lose. I mean, every campaign, it always comes out when you read the historical accounts, the Bob Woodward books and whatnot. It always comes out that the campaigns always knew the outcome like a week or two in advance. They always knew. Internal polling tells them everything. She didn't wake up on Tuesday morning and think, oh, I might win this. I think she knew this was not going to happen for her. I mean, come on, it was a 3.5 point deficit. I mean, that's significant in our system. That is significant.
Right. Let's get to the headlines. Let's stream through them real fast. We won't comment. We'll just read the headlines.
Here we go. Bernie Sanders, the self-described Democratic Socialist senator from Vermont, who was kneecapped by the corporate Democratic establishment in 2 runs for president in 2016 and 2020, campaigned vigorously for Kamala Harris. Now that she's been defeated and he's been safely reelected to another 6-year term, the 83-year-old progressive is feeling the burn once again. Going radically off script, Sanders issued a blistering post-election broadside against the DNC on X. Quote, "It should come as no great surprise the Democratic Party, which has abandoned working class people, would find that working class has abandoned them," Sanders said. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Will the big money interests and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Will they understand the pain and political alienation that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any ideas how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic and political power? Probably not. In the coming weeks and months, those of us concerned about grassroots democracy and economic justice need to have some very serious political discussions. Stay tuned. I view this as a threat to the DNC. What do you think?
You think he's going to blow shit up on his way out? Is that
he
what
just did? That's blowing. That's like, oh yeah, DNC. I don't expect you to ever call me ever again. I'm in with Vermont. I won 2/3 of the vote. I've got 6 more years. I'm old as shit. I don't care about being reelected. I don't give 2 shits about you. I'm going to sit here with my mittens and tell you to go fuck yourselves. That's what this is about.
You really think? Well, I hope so. And I was a Bernie supporter back in 2016. And then he petered out and he kowtowed to Nancy Pelosi and
I know for the last 4 years he's been a good soldier.
He rolled over.
But it's not really over. As friend of the show Scott Santos told me this morning, it's being a good soldier is not really in his DNA, and I think that's what's going on. Here's my prediction: he has this group called Our Revolution, I think he's going to try to like amp it up, radicalize it, take it away from the Democratic Party, and try to turn it into a true grassroots organization. I don't know if this is smart or if it can work or if it's too late. All I'm saying, I think that's the plan here.
He needs to make a legacy because he ruined it by rolling over and letting Hillary Clinton put him in line and Nancy
Agreed.
Pelosi put him in line.
All right, let's keep
change ways.
Justice Department officials have been evaluating how to wind down the 2 federal criminal cases against Trump before he takes office to comply with longstanding policy that a sitting president cannot be prosecuted. The latest discussions stand in contrast with the pre-election legal posture of special counsel Jack Smith, who in recent weeks took steps in the election interference cases against Trump without worrying about the electoral calendar. But now sources say the DOJ has come to grips with the fact that no trial is possible anytime soon, neither the January 6th case or for the classified documents, both of which are mired in legal issues anyway, that would probably prompt any number of appeals all the way to SCOTUS, even if Trump had lost. Now that Trump's going to become president again, the DOJ sees no room to pursue either case against Trump, and no point in continuing to litigate them in the weeks before he takes office. At the same time, Trump's legal team is weighing its own next steps for how to resolve the outstanding federal cases in his favor now that he's the projected winner of the election. The ultimate goal is to get all the federal and state cases wiped out completely. The strategic call is how best to accomplish that task, according to a person familiar with the discussions. Obviously, the federal cases are all going away because he could just, he could probably pardon himself. The state.
Yeah. I don't know how that works, but yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's just, it's going to have to all go away because now Trump will be shielded by his position of power, and he could probably pardon himself. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, this way, even if it's not sure, if he did it, he would certainly be challenged by Democrats in court and stuff. But again, that would probably take a while to work its way through the courts, which is, obviously the courts are just a giant delay machine. And, by the time it all plays out, we will all be dead of old age. All right. Hurricane Raphael has intensified into a Category 3 hurricane as it nears the coast of western Cuba, which is still reeling from a recent blackout. And Hurricane Oscar. Earlier yesterday, Raphael was 160 miles southeast of Havana, packing winds of 99 miles an hour, making it a Cat 2. 5 is the strongest, of course. By the way, the National Hurricane Center is currently ginning up a Cat 6 because of climate change. Anyway, the NHC said the storm will become a major hurricane before landfall, bringing with it a life-threatening storm surge, damaging winds, and flash flooding. Cuba's meteorological institute, INSMET, earlier said it expected Raphael to be very close to Category 3 when it slams into the west of the island between Pinar del Rio and Artemisa provinces. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. 9 provinces in west and central Cuba, including Havana, have been placed on cyclone alert. According to the media in Cuba, 70,000 people have been evacuated, mostly in Guantanamo in the east. No word of whether the torturers are being also evacuated, where 8 people were killed by Hurricane Oscar last month, while Guantanamo which is a region, not just a concentration camp. It's not expected to experience hurricane wind conditions. Persistent rain has left the ground saturated. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel said Tuesday that he's mobilizing the National Defense Council due to the storm. That makes sense. The number of cancer deaths worldwide is expected to nearly double by 2050, largely due to increases in low and middle income countries. Habtamu Miwayehu at the University of Queensland in Australia and his team made the discovery by looking at recent figures for cases and death rates for 36 kinds of cancer in 185 countries from the Global Cancer Observatory database. They then projected future cases and deaths by applying these rates to the 2050 population predictions from the UN Development Program. They found that the total number of cancer cases worldwide is expected or projected to grow by about 77% between 2022, that's 2 years ago, of course, and 2050, which would mean an additional 15 million cases in 2050 on top of 20 million in 2022. Global cancer deaths are also projected to rise by almost 90% during this period, almost doubling, resulting in 8.8 million people more in 2050 compared to 2022, in which 9.7 million died of the disease. Largest increases are expected in countries with low or middle rankings on the UN Human Development Index, which is based on life expectancy, education level, and income per person. Cancer cases and deaths are on average anticipated to nearly triple by the year 2050 in countries with a low score like Niger and Afghanistan. Meanwhile, countries with a high score like Norway are projected to see cases and deaths increase also, but less, on average by more than 42%, not insignificant, and 56% respectively. So it's going to be cancer palooza. Of course, obviously,
yes.
We also have climate change, which increased temperatures means more cancer also, skin cancer and other diseases, and more diseases that make you vulnerable to cancer. And there's
good times is what you're saying, Ted. Good times ahead for all. 2050, Project 2050. Yeah.
Get all your parts checked out. That's the takeaway here.
So, yes. All right. So with that, we're going to switch gears and bring in our guest. But first, the Jaws. All right, let me get this old guy off the screen there. Of course, we're going to continue this week as all politics, mostly domestic U.S. stuff for obvious reasons. And we wanted to bring in somebody that most of you are familiar with because this person knows intimately how the Trump machine had such a magnificent, fantastic, biggest ever of all time comeback.
Well, it was. I mean, objectively, as someone who does not support the former president and president-elect, you can't help, as a student of history and politics, but be incredibly impressed by what is arguably, if not one of it may be the biggest political comeback in American history. I mean, Absolutely. They called Bill Clinton the comeback kid from coming back from having gotten caught with his pants down a few times. This is a lot bigger than that. Yeah.
So with that, once I pop her face up on here, I think everybody's going to know who that is.
There she is.
There she is. That is our buddy, Angie Wong.
That is so funny.
Of the final countdown.
Angie.
Congrats to you and your team and the Trump people. Whether people are happy about that or not doesn't matter. You guys pulled out just literally the biggest political comeback ever that the world has ever seen.
Like, that is so. No, I can't take credit for any of this, by the way. This was all Donald Trump. And, we played a very, very small role in his comeback. We knew it was coming. We're just the believers. We followed him all the way to the end of the rainbow. So look, guys, you know this. Act 2 is now over. Right? There's still Act 3 and Act 4 to go. I'm not sleeping until at least January 20th. There's still a lot more to this play. And so, I love it. I love your new show, by the way. Congratulations on your new show. I love seeing your faces again. This is crazy. Like, I'm having weird flashbacks.
And it's now fun. We're all like unleashed. We're unleashed on this.
Yeah, unleashed. Raw.
Well, I was just surprised that you were cursing throughout the headlines. I was like, I can curse on this show.
Yeah, you can. Please, feel free.
What does Kamala Harris say? Mandatory. We're unburdened. We're unburdened by whatever.
We're so unburdened by what has been. The FCC, man, that thing needs a complete revamp. If anything, I was talking to my Trump friends and I said, get me in the FCC because we need to completely rip out that. Yeah, I mean, you want to Project 25 me all day long, go for it. But we need to clean that up.
Is she going to, you think, I mean, she's been pretty fair. No? Do you think she's out?
She's been pretty fair. I think she's been pretty much in avoidance of any of her duties, right? I mean, unless you make a complaint, nothing happens. I follow it lightly. I'm not really a big nerd on the FCC. But, it's a lot of these newer platforms, like the one we're on, it skirts the FCC altogether, right? So that's fine. We found a workaround. But
it showed, right? This election cycle with Trump going on Rogan and like Theo Vaughn's podcast and all that stuff. It shows that mainstream media is dead because probably in large part because the FCC censors everything, all the truths and whatever. I mean, not to say that YouTube doesn't either, but the whole point is like mainstream media is dead and it's cemented. Trump did the right thing, the smart thing to go and talk to the people on like Rogan, talk to the biggest podcast in all of the world, whereas Harris hid away, kind of like the 2020 Biden campaign.
Yeah. What do you make of Elon Musk saying that we are the media? I mean, I saw it as a marketing ploy because, obviously X is now on your TV screens, right? So he needs content.
I haven't
But
seen that yet.
yeah. You can see
I've
X
seen
shows.
that.
There's a Trump movie, and Christopher Martini is going to kill me because I can't remember the name of his film. I think it's called The Man We Don't Know or something like that. Oops. Anyway, it's streaming on XTV because they need content, and they're willing to push the kind of more conservative, right-leaning content. So, but look, Elon Musk said we are the media. I don't know. Are we the media? Because I'm laughing.
I think Elon Musk is correct. It's the media is now. It is literally we've achieved the promise of the internet was the interconnectivity that was we were supposed to all be instantaneously connectable in as frictionless a way as possible, and there were bumps along the way, but I think we're there now. I mean, we literally, like one of us could now be in Kabul, and we could have the same quality of conversation and connection. And again, for free, right? I mean, think about, I mean, I'm old enough to remember that calling from Dayton to Cincinnati, which was in the same area code, 513, was they called it like a short-term, long-term distance call, and you had to pay an extra fee to call from your landline within the same area code if it was a little far away. And so it was just like, I mean, just think about like how you can now have a device that's $60 a month and you can call anywhere in the world and it's included. I mean, I used to pay $200 a month in college for my long distance phone bill to call my girlfriend in the state,
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah,
no,
well,
I had those
dumb.
too.
I should have dated locally.
Yeah. Did it pay off, Ted?
Not really. No, not really.
Not in dividends. Yeah, no, look, I'm just so excited. I'm actually, this morning, I was doing a little bit of self-reflection. I'm actually really depressed right now because like I've been running for the last 4 years trying to get this guy into office. And not only this guy, but the trifecta. We got the House, I think.
Yes.
We got the White House and we have the Senate.
Huge.
And it's like, I don't know what to do with myself now. Like, I need to take up knitting or something.
Oh, is this sort of like the day after the wedding where you're sort of, now
I'm
what?
Freaking out. I'm totally freaking out because
The
now
last
I'm
one
married.
Robert Redford in do you ever see The Candidate? Robert Redford, the movie?
Yes.
And at the last side, it's all going and going and going and going, and then they win, and then he's like, now what?
That's me right now. I am freaking out. I am like talking to myself. I'm like pacing because like I don't know what I just did, and I don't think I played a very, very small role in all of this. But
you've had a front row seat.
I've had a front row seat, and I'm very happy to have been reporting it with you guys on this. I'm happy to have a voice in all of this. But my biggest thing, and I'm gonna just right here, we turned Miami red. Okay. Miami County, it was a blue county for the last 30 something years. We flipped it red. It is now R+5. And again, not all.
Wow, that's crazy.
We jumped almost 18 points since 2020, since Biden ran this county. So we're going to keep, now we know the formula. We know how to do it.
Do you think that formula can be replicated in other major cities, like Chicago or New York?
Funny enough, I got phone calls about that last week about how we did that. We're going block by block, street by street. We need a lot of Cuban Americans is really what it is. We need a lot of people who come from kind of like communist countries to flip it. They don't want to see any of the stuff on where they're living now, where they've invested.
So Miami's unique that way, kind of.
It is. It's very, very unique. We heavily leaned on Cuban Americans and South Americans, and that is, 63% of Miami, right? So
we saw, Angie, 45% of Latinos broke for Trump.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a big, a big story. Cause I remember we've all been following the Latino vote story for decades. Wild. And the assumption was always struck me as a little bit flawed. The assumption was always like, oh, because you have light brown skin, because you're Latino, and you're here and you're a U.S. citizen, you sympathize automatically with everyone else who is Latino, who is interested in coming across the border, whether legally or illegally. And I don't know that follows logically. I think most people, this is a country of immigrants. I think most people, they kick the dirt of the home country off their shoes when they arrive, and then they Americanize. And certainly by second generation, those kids are 100% American, and they're not, thinking about like, oh, like these people are like my parents or grandparents were 80 years ago or 50 years ago. They're not thinking that way. I mean, Latinos are predominantly Catholic. They're conservative, family values, super important. There's a certain machismo, in a lot of Latin culture. I don't think Democrats really ever understood that.
No, and they try to jam it through. And, so we have a really interesting problem, right? We have over 10 million Latinos who just walked across the border, right? And it's like, wow, you guys really played the short game on that one. We're going to now flip them, because they did come with those values. A lot of them came with like values that they want to change, of course, but I think that's where the Republican Party can really, really grow and expand, is to grab those guys.
You deport them all.
I know that is the Trump way, isn't it?
Is going to do, right? I mean, how seriously should we take that?
Or if they become card-holding members of the Republican Party, they can stay. How about that?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like they'll be arrested by Trump's goons. Like, okay, so we're giving you a choice here. One-way ticket out, or...
Join the party. I mean, I feel like that's what the Democrats were banking on, right? With like the vast numbers of immigration, whether legal or illegal. But now that we're here, I mean, the transition team, and by transition we mean like not gender. So Biden calls Trump before Harris does and says, okay, come to the White House. Let's do this transition thing. Let's hold hands, kumbaya. That's my read, because I think Biden is salty at his own party and at Kamala Harris for them booting him off, because, he didn't go down without a fight within his own party, because he was saying, no, she can't beat Trump. I can beat Trump. And I guess this is a big I told you so for Biden.
Yeah, so, Biden.
He did outperform her. He did
100%. In fact, she lost at sometimes double digits in the counties that he won in back in 2020. So she was a complete disaster. Joe Biden went dark MAGA. He went total dark MAGA on us the final weeks of the election. And I think that old man knows exactly what he's doing. I don't think he was just playing around doing goofs and whatnot. I think he knew exactly what was going to tank her. And now, you know what's happened?
Do you think the garbage remark was one of them?
I think he knew what was going on. I think he knew that was going to go viral. You don't
think that's an Obama, like, how Obama said, never overestimate Joe's ability to fuck things up?
Yeah, he totally fucked things up there. It was the best.
That was deliberate.
I think so, because the next thing you know, within 24 hours, Trump is in a dumpster truck. Okay. So it's the best. I mean, look, that was politics, retail politics at its best. We're not going to see showmanship like that ever again.
Angie, what do you make of the fact that, like, okay, so they say that, defeat is an orphan and victory has 1,000 followers. How do you make what do you make of like the liberal media coverage in places like the New York Times, where now it's like basically they're trying to like acknowledge the genius of Trump as a campaigner, the genius of like moves like this, the showmanship, the stagecraft, and up until Tuesday they were talking about how incredibly degenerate and maniacal,
right,
and insane and crazy and doomed all these things were. Now they're like, oh, well, anyone could plainly see it coming.
Now they got to do an about face. Look, it is what it is. They know who the winner is. They know who they have to cover for the next 4 years, right?
So true.
So you might have to gain some White House access, right? You need that to just do your job properly. I think, Jeff Bezos saw the micro data coming in and said, no way are we going to be endorsing Kamala Harris. He knew. And again, all these tech guys, they have the micro data that point to a winner even months ago. They do. All of them.
Yeah, because this was a pretty sizable margin. I mean, look, it's not like, 60-40, but we don't really do that in this country anymore. But in this day and age, in the modern era, I would say since 1996. 3.5% is a comfortable popular vote margin,
Yes.
especially when the morning of the election, the Real Clear Politics average had Harris up by 0.4.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I have been wrong. I mean, I was following the campaign trail in 2016. I actually got to experience first wave MAGA, and that's when I went around telling everybody, no, this is what the polls are saying is wrong. And I vibed that this time because I obviously was not on the trail, but the polls kept telling me it's neck and neck. And here he wins both electoral and popular vote. Like nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw that he was going to be competitive in my county, in Fairfax County. What that shows me is soccer moms, suburban soccer moms like me. And I said this on the show the other day, right, Ted, on Wednesday, yesterday, that when I went to my polling place, I'm going to imply, and you can make of it what you will. The polling place looked different. There was a different batch of voters that I don't traditionally see. And I'm somebody that votes in the midterms and everything. And suddenly I saw within my county, in Fairfax County, Trump was freaking
Trump is a populist like Bernie Sanders. And those are the two major political figures in recent years who understand that in a country where in a presidential election, a decent turnout is considered 55%, for those 45% of registered voters who don't show up, someone could go out there and get them to show up. And on top of that, there's people who are not registered. You could register and get them to come too. Trump understood that.
I'll tell you,
he was more successful than Bernie at it. But that's what this is all about. This is about bringing out new voters.
I've never seen this many middle-aged soccer moms that were like me, of every ethnicity, at my polling place here in Fairfax County, and this many of us. And I went around lunchtime by chance. I'm telling you, it looked different. And then by the nighttime, when they were zeroing in on different counties in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin spoke. I could not believe that there was a sizable voting block shift of women, middle-aged, suburban moms like me in Fairfax County that broke for Trump.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was shocked.
But there's also what's crazy, and I
voted for Trump.
I don't know if we're ever going. I don't know if you got to see internals, Angie, but I mean, I am dying to know if there was any kind of substantial progressive vote for an anger vote for Trump. I personally know a lot of lefties who voted for Donald Trump, more than voted for Jill Stein, like progressives who were literally like, they hate Harris so much on Gaza that they were like, I'm not only going to deny my vote to her, I'm going to vote for Trump because I want to stick it to her hard. And I'm talking about, like, you know, women, I mean, like socialists, like real lefties. And I just wonder if that's just my weird circle of friends, or if that's a factor, because that happened in 2016 and 2020, where like former Bernie Sanders supporters, some of them did vote for Trump.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can, without seeing internals, I saw that happening in places like Vermont and New Hampshire. And I was hearing about it. Now, I don't have internals to back it up with numbers just yet. I'll do an autopsy when I get some sleep. But it's certainly, we saw that happening in New York. The New York Post just put out a story on how borough by borough, Trump went up sometimes 21%. We're talking in the Bronx, we're talking about in Queens. He gained a lot. And you better believe they're not Republicans. They were not traditional Republicans. That was the problem. Kamala Harris's closing message was just abortion and I hate Donald Trump. That's not enough to convince Americans right now to vote for any candidate.
And I love Liz Cheney.
And I love, that's just weird. And her brown suits. I don't get the brown suits thing. They were all wearing weird brown suits. Did you see that?
Aubergine.
Yeah, but that's not a power color. It's just like it's brown.
It's a poo color.
It's a poo color. Right. So I don't know who advised that. But okay. So aside, but Trump's closing message really was just like everyday American stuff. You know, your eggs are $1 each now, right? Your gas tank, if you leave the gas pumps for less than $55, you're lucky.
True.
Right? And I drive a Mini. And Ted, I've been using a quote everywhere that I heard you say once, and it just stuck in my mind. Trump voters were rage voting. We could not wait to get to the polls. The very first day of early voting here in Miami, I was there at 6:59 with my coffee and my cafecitos. They were rage voting. They were just like, get me in
chomping
there.
At the bit.
Yeah.
And I think fundamentally, look, obviously, and this is going to be analyzed for weeks, months, and years to come, right? And it should be. But like one of the, I think one of the big mistakes the Democrats made is failing to understand the anger of the voters, and not just Republican voters. There's people don't want to hear, they don't want joy when they can't pay the rent. They don't want laughing and cackling.
Yeah.
They're worried about sending their kids to college. And they're worried about food prices. They don't want to see wild parties with Lady Gaga and Bruce Springsteen that they're not invited to, and it's all flashy and like, well, I'm glad you're having a good time, because out here we're not. Like, our town has been devastated.
Yeah.
Trump's message, was denigrated by the mainstream media as dark and apocalyptic, but it was closer to how the people were feeling than this, and I think in the end, the Kamala Harris message was, I want to protect American institutions, and American institutions are not serving the public very well. I mean, anybody who's ever been, like, say, in the courts has been screwed over by the courts. Anybody who's ever, we're not out to protect, we're not interested in keeping the IRS the way it is. So I think that idea of, like, we're going to safeguard things are pretty good. Trump wants to blow things up. It's kind of like, well, I didn't vote for Trump, but I'm sympathetic to his desire to blow things up.
Is he though, Angie? Is he really? We see his new coalition, right? I pray to God he was nice about Mike Pompeo the other day and said something about him on stage, but I pray that he doesn't bring the Pompeos, the Boltons, the whatever back into his fold. Those are the very people that undermined his first administration. But now we see RFK, we see Tulsi, we see other people like the Casey and Callie Means, people that are out of nowhere. Some of them, like RFK Jr., nobody saw that coming. Like, what the hell? But come on, please. Can you please spread the word to the Trump people that they cannot possibly bring in a swampier Swamp Thing than Mike Pompeo? Like, please put that guy away.
This is why I am so depressed right now. I am really depressed because I was at the Trump watch party the other night, and who did I see running through? All the swamp monsters. And I said, did I really
all looking for work?
Right. Did I really just get you back into power? Because I thought you guys were gone. And I just stood there with my plastic cup at a party. It literally
your
felt
red
like
Solo cup.
It literally felt like I just saw my ex-boyfriend with his new girlfriend. Like, I just literally just sat there sulking. And everyone's like, what the hell's wrong with you? We just won everything. And I'm like crying. I'm like, I want to go home. I want to go under my blanket.
No.
Yeah, because that's what happened.
People?
Yeah.
Well, do you think that's what's going to happen? Look, obviously we know that Project 2025 aside, the Trump team has obviously been planning in a way that they never planned for 2016 and couldn't really. But now they could, and they have been. They know personnel is policy. The rumor is that they have tens of thousands of people lined up to step into the civil service, into all these appointment positions in the federal government. And I know that Trump, at least verbally, has said that he felt like he got screwed by the deep state, and he hated the neocons, and they went after him, right? He's not dumb. He's not going to bring them back, is he?
Oh, well, okay. So what I can confirm, because I have been speaking to the transition team, They are not hiring any lobbyists. If you're a lobbyist, you're not allowed in. That's their top line. Nope, we're not hiring you. Okay. 2, there's going to be some usual suspects that are going to get back in because they've been with Trump all this time for decades, and they are itching to get, the top positions.
Of course. What about Nikki Haley? Are we going to see her in the cabinet?
No.
I bet we
I
are.
can't say. I don't know. That one is going to be, that one's a little bit sticky. I have no idea. I do know some of the top.
Promised something, right?
They're all promised something. Like DeSantis, for example, he's likely going to get Marco Rubio's seat in an open election, a special election.
Marco Rubio might be going to state, right?
That's right. I heard 2 names that I'm familiar with that's being looked at for that position. Of course, everything can change 30 seconds before the announcement, right? So let's not mark anyone just yet.
That's what he said about picking JD Vance, right? It was like at that last moment, he was like, all right, that guy.
Turned out to be
I don't know.
Turned out to be a good choice.
Maybe. We'll see. Time will tell. But yeah, no, there's the usual suspects that are all climbing back in. I'm like, did I just spend the last 4 years busting my balls so that you can get back in there? Now, there are definitely people that are completely toxic that Trump is like, stay afar. And, they grifted throughout this 4 years when he was not in office and bashed him. But I think, look, I hate defending Project 2025. I had to do it yesterday on air. I will say that these are the agencies that went after Trump and his family and his allies. Of course I'm going to dismantle you. Of course I'm going to clean you out and gut you out, right? I don't think that's a bad thing. You created the problem, and now Trump is going to go in and clean it up. So if he takes the DOJ, strips it of, of its personnel, not its powers, but his personnel's, and clean it up, I would love that. If they did the same thing with the FCC and made equal time, applicable to all the major networks, that would be amazing. So I don't think these are bad things. It's just being spun wrong as if, oh yeah, Trump's going to get rid of the FBI. Trump's going to get rid of the Pentagon. Right. What? No, it's not happening.
No, it's just the heads of them. So I have a wish list that I'm just going to put out there. McGregor at DOD.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Go ahead.
I'm going to go with McGregor for DOD. I think there's a real chance that Tulsi could go Secretary of State, maybe.
No, I don't think so. She doesn't have the experience.
I
don't think so.
I think RFK
I think she could get Veterans
USDA.
Affairs. Tulsi could get the VA.
I think Brian Mast is going to get Veterans Affairs. I think either Bill Hagerty or Marco Rubio will be Secretary of State. If he is Secretary of State, then Treasury or Commerce might go to Bill Hagerty. I think he's got the experience for that. These are my guesses. I have no idea, obviously. Tulsi's
I'm just saying wish list.
Okay.
Wish list. Yeah. I would like to see maybe RFK at the USDA. Unless we could do something really wild, is like make him the chief of the CIA, make RFK. I think that would be pretty fun. But I would definitely like to see McGregor leading the DOD, because I think he is a scholar. He's an academic. He understands what's happening on the battlefields, because he's actually a battle-hardened real military guy, and he's super smart. So I would really like to see McGregor in that seat, because I think he could keep the tentacles of the DOD out of other countries, because he is a combat veteran, and he would know.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be a lot of names being thrown out. One thing that if JFK Jr. is watching this show, I would not be getting your press people right now telling
JFK
people.
Jr.?
I'm sorry, RFK Jr.
I was like, wait a minute. Let me get my
blub 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 at the bottom of
it. No, let me get my tinfoil hat, because
you think he's still alive?
There's been talk in the queue.
That would be weird. That's weird. That's like Elvis back. No. So RFK Jr., he needs to shut his mouth about running the FDA right now and taking away vaccines, and because that's what's fueling a lot of the leftist media. Well, that's what the leftist media is reporting. It's crazy. I think it's dumb. He needs to shut up. really shut up for the next 2 months until he actually gets a real appointment. Because right now what he's doing is he's making certain that he's never going to get a position. So if he is going to run the FDA or do any sort of anything involving pharmaceuticals and whatnot, I'm looking forward to it. I don't love his ideas. I gotta tell you, it's a little bit too California for me, and not in the right way. I mean, I think not all vaccinations are terrible. I don't, but I get it. Big pharma is a big issue. So I will have to do something about it. But look, it's too much change all at once. I don't know if Americans can take it either. And I hope that we don't get punished in the midterms after all these massive gains because too much has been shoved down the throat on the other.
What are you most worried about? Like, what kind of MAGA agenda items do you think might be difficult, might spark a rebellion or what's the word I'm looking for? Backlash against.
I think when you see busloads of immigrants being literally walked onto the bus, like the little girl holding her teddy bear having to be shipped back to a country where she might get assassinated, that might be a bad look. Just saying. I think that there has to be a pathway to citizenship for a lot of the migrants who are legitimately seeking asylum here. I think there should be not an amnesty, but something. I like the idea, and I know a lot of people think that this is too controversial, but I think, like we offered Jamaica. If you're willing to serve in our military for 4 to 8 years, I forget what it is, then guess what? If you are, sworn to our military and you can provide and protect us, then we will offer you a pathway to citizenship, even if you're here illegally. I think there has to be,
because that's not what Trump has promised. Obviously.
Oh no, this is Angie Wong's idea. This is not Trump world idea. But I'm just saying, how can you possibly ship back 14 million people at this point?
You can't.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's realistic at all.
By the way, Angie, I got to give a shout out to Well Dressed Nerd for the $5. I think what is this? The Rumble rant. And he has a question. First he says, Pompeo and Bolton suck the balls. Trump Jr. was on Fox this morning and says he's working overtime to keep the swamp creatures out. Also, hey, Angie. So shout out Well Dressed Nerd. Thank you.
Well Dressed Nerd. I bet he's hot. I'm a nerd fan. I love nerds. I love them so much. I'm a nerd. So no, I think there's some really good stuff. The other thing that I'm paying close attention to in the new administration is this Chinese tariff. I see that in DC right now, Chinese businesses and American businesses who have dealings in China and in Asia, they are hiring lobbyists like you wouldn't believe just to try to get an exemption from any 100-200% tax that Trump's been going on and on about, with foreign goods. I think there has to be something. There's going to be a lot of discussions about this. It can't just be we're going to just tax China 200% on tariffs. I know Trump has said that on the campaign trail,
sure,
but there are just some realities in the world. I don't want to pay $17 for a trash bag. I just don't. So I think there's got to be something that has to be a little bit more real world in that scenario. Other things, we have an opportunity to really do some good policying, right? And I'm not a policy girl. I know plenty of people who are. I'm looking forward to hearing their ideas because I think there's some real world ideas that can work here. And clearly you see futurists in JD Vance, in Elon Musk's, and Vivek. I mean, you see a lot of that good blood coming in that really want to future-proof our country. So I'm looking forward to hearing their ideas on what they want to do and how we can move forward together, right? Because right now we have a Congress and a Senate that is stuck in the 90s. They still print out their emails to read them and respond to them. And they're writing laws Section 230. They don't get what they're doing. So I'm looking forward to the new blood coming in. And seeing how we can play in this new space together, especially on the Space Coast here in Florida, which just a little political plug, which I would like to expand down here to Miami. I want to turn the East Coast of Florida into the next innovation hub because space is going to be a big, big conversation topic in my kids' future. I'm grandma in that space, but I still I know enough to know that that's where we should be headed, especially in our education. We need to focus more on things that's going to deliver to our kids and make them beneficial in the future.
STEM. I'm so tired of all, like, I have a little one too. Ted, you've got a college age kid. Angie's got school age children. I've got a little one. So when I look at the future, I'm like, no, I don't need you to be teaching my kid underwater basket weaving or female whatever feelings on such and such subject. No, I want him to learn STEM stuff so that way he can actually have a real job and not have some useless degree and end up, at Starbucks serving coffee to the people that actually have real jobs that,
we need
that
free
AI
college.
can't take away.
We need free
Right.
college. The whole rest of the world has it. You can be anyway. We should
That's a
let
whole
Angie
different
go.
conversation. But yeah, Angie, like I think everybody wants to know behind the orange curtain is what I'm calling it, how it happened. And like you said, it sounded like you did, like the Republicans behind the Trump machine. It was old school retail politics. He pounded the pavement. He knocked on doors. He talked to regular people, and his people did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what happened. Whereas we didn't see that with the Harris campaign. She held a couple of big rallies that were fully staged. She, ran away from the media. She didn't talk to podcasters. She didn't go on alternative media. She was like the exact inverse of what Trump did. And I think that's really the lesson, the takeaway from behind the orange curtain and how Trump got to be this comeback story, right? Is he did old school retail politics.
Yeah, no, they were both bad candidates, really bad candidates. We can say it now. Kamala Harris was worse than Joe Biden. How could you be worse than Joe Biden?
Right.
But she was horrible.
I always say this, right? Like, Americans are optimists, and what they don't understand is that no matter how bad a situation is, it can get worse.
I miss you guys so much. I really do. I miss your faces.
Now
I miss talking to you. Yeah,
well, come
bring you
and sit
back.
hi. You're welcome back anytime, Angie.
I would love that. I really
or
do.
Like, or when I'm sick again, you probably didn't hear because it was busy. You were busy last week, so I was out in hospital last week because I somehow contracted viral meningitis. So I was in the hospital. Like, next time we just plug Angie in there, Ted's other Asian radio wife.
Yeah, I heard Ted, you called Manila Angie yesterday.
I did. I know.
Whoa.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's completely indefensible.
That's what I'm saying. If I get
in my
again,
defense, it's like you were both my co-hosts. So, it's like co-host, not like Asian lady co-host. It's just co-host.
Lies, Ted, lies.
You can't walk
surrounded
back
by
that
Asian
one.
ladies. No. Lies. But yes, come back anytime, Angie. Go, please get some rest, because you're not only, like working all this political stuff, but I mean, you're a friend, obviously, and you're doing this, and we know you're a wife and mother, and you have all your other.
Yeah, I got to do some family time after this. I'm going to take a little time off. But no, thank you for having me on, and get me back on often. I miss you guys, and I love you guys. And hi to Robbie behind the scenes there. I know he's been doing a great job. And I love the new graphics. I love the way the show looks. It looks so good.
Thank you.
Get it on X, because, Elon Musk
Good
is
idea.
for all the media.
Very good idea.
Yeah, we have to learn how to do all that still. So
no, we can link through X.
Yeah, that's easy.
We'll talk about this.
Yeah, we'll talk about it offline. All right, guys. Thank you again for having me on.
Thank you, Angie. We'll see you again soon.
Have a great
Bye,
show,
Angie.
guys.
Bye. All right. That's fun. Like having Angie on. That's always a good time having Angie on. But kind of hearing behind, like the whole.
I want to hear more.
Optics.
I mean, that stuff about like all the swamp creatures coming back into the world. That's, of course, not shocking, but it's interesting, and I don't think it's being reported yet elsewhere. So that's like
I agree.
Like a scoop.
I agree, and I agree that this is Angie, because she's behind the curtain. She can see and tell us what she saw, and no one else is reporting that.
And she's not. And what's great is like, yes, she has her. We know where she stands politically, but she's honest. She's telling us how she feels. The good, the bad, and the ugly from inside the Trump campaign. So it's so useful when you have someone like that. And instead of hearing like the prepackaged, Trump
the polished turd,
awesome. Like the spin that we're hearing out of the Harris campaign and her allies, which are literally saying she ran a flawless campaign.
Flawless.
Okay, first of all, no one can or ever has or ever will run a flawless campaign. That's not possible. But let's just say, lady, you ain't no Ronald Reagan. You ain't no, you ain't no Bill Clinton.
No.
You ain't no Barack Obama.
My God.
You ain't. And they didn't run flawless campaigns either.
No. And those people are wordsmiths and are smooth. I mean, let's be honest, they're smooth operators. You put a Reagan up there, you put a Bill Clinton in his prime up there, smooth operators.
I mean, we don't have time in another hour and 15 minutes to get into all the mistakes that Harris made in this campaign. But how about this? Maybe if you only have 107 days to campaign, don't squander 40 of them. Just an idea.
Well, that's one of them. I put out my own litany of complaints about them yesterday on Twitter, but I would like to add to that officially on air now that the dust is settling. How about when you do lose, you take the high road and do some self-examination instead of turning around, lashing out, and blaming Latinos for voting against their own interest, as you claim, because you're projecting, what their interests are. You're telling them, right? So you're blaming the Latinos, you're blaming Black men, and you're blaming men in general. So the man hating continues on the Democratic side, and that is super annoying to me. And then they start hating on the women in the suburbs like me who didn't vote with our vaginas.
Right.
That's it.
Well, I mean, that's very foolish too. And besides which, I mean, God, more mistakes, right? Kamala Harris literally thought she could win without men. Okay, we're half the population. Okay? Hello.
No, but that's when you start transing everybody, and then you can be women. So.
Oh, good point.
So she was really counting on the transing.
I would just stay home all the time. I'd be like dating myself.
Like that's. I mean, I know that sounds for some people is going to be really awful that I said that, but that's part of the joke. I mean, that's the thing is like there's one party that's really supporting the rainbow flag, the alphabet letters, whatever they may be at this point. That's who they support, and the other side is completely against that. So maybe, Ted, it's, you men are a dwindling, dying breed because you are becoming self-identified women. And that's the calculus.
I'm not self-identified. Just saying.
All right. That is going to do it for us. Again, we got to remind you guys, this is a fully independent show. Ted and I are doing this along with the help of our producer. So we really do need to call for you to support us if you are in the position to do so financially with the $5 a month subscription or help us out on locals or, all these other ways. And we're putting, once we've got our arms around this show, we're getting all the stuff.
We could like do something where there's goodies, right? Like, for example, at a certain level, you get a free signed Ted Rall book or something like that. I mean,
oh, you have goodies? I don't have that.
I have goodies. I have original cartoon art. I mean, those sell for typically about $500 each. I mean, I could give them away for less, I mean, or to people who support the show. It's not going to be $5 a month. Sorry. But
that's great. I don't have any of that to offer yet. I have to really think on that. But yeah, if anybody can hit the subscribe button at the very least, that part is free, or the follow if you're on Rumble, if you're on YouTube, the sub button, that would really help us out. And just retweet it. Tell your friends and family to click on it. That in and of itself is very helpful. So if you are enjoying what you're watching, what you're hearing, you find value in this, we just ask that you help us in any possible way, because we are a little startup and we're hoping to be the little startup show that could, being fully independent. We rely on subscribers to help us not starve. So thank you guys. Those who have already subscribed and helped us out in any possible way. It has not fallen on deaf ears, we know. So thank you very much. And then tomorrow is Friday, end of the week.
It is. Friday, November 8th, we'll have, today we had a conservative join us to talk about the election. Tomorrow, we'll have a liberal Democrat who, needless to say, is not happy about the results. And
establishment, though?
Establishment Democrat. I would say he probably would take issue with that, but I think we would say he's an establishment Democrat. Good friend of mine, known him for many years, famous political cartoonist. You've probably heard of him. So he was fired from a high profile job for doing too many anti-Trump cartoons. So
really,
for people who know cartooning, they'll know who I'm talking about. So we will do that tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, that's going to be a fun way to wrap up this crazy week. With that, thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow morning to do it all again. And hopefully, I don't know, Ted, we can start moving forward past elections and look into the future and look at the stuff around the world that is gonna feel either the pains or the benefits of a Trump round 2. I would like to start looking into that next, like the wars, the whole judicial system, because like some SCOTUS justices may retire, and the fact that the Republicans have all the branches of government now, that can be something.
Well, you still need. Don't they need? But now, don't we? I'm confused. Is it a simple majority in the Senate to confirm a Supreme Court justice now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. It used to be you needed 60, right? So that
you don't need a super majority. It's just a majority. And then,
so Republicans probably. I'm going to guess they're going to end up with 54 seats in the Senate. So they'll have that. Yeah.
They're going to get confirmed.
They're going to fill up the federal bench. Although there's no one obvious that's about to kick over like RBG.
No, but they should. Well, I mean, she was like 1,000. So
I know. She was like a redwood. If you chopped her, you would have been able to count all the rings.
Oh, poor old RBG. Well, I mean, Sotomayor.
Kidding me? She should have quit. Could have quit. You got to know when to hold them. Got to know when.
There were murmurings that Sotomayor was wanting to retire, and she hasn't been there that long. But she's getting a little long in the tooth. But I think she's going to try to hang on now that Trump has won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and Chief Justice Roberts, Clarence Thomas, he's got a lot of heat coming under his ass. So
that's true.
And he's old. He's not young. So
I think he loves the job, though. He's not going anywhere.
Well, they all love the job, and that's you got to plan your being unalive very carefully if you're on the bench. I'm just going to say that because the YouTube censor bots will find us. But yeah, you got to plan your unaliving very carefully if you're on the bench. So
all right.
That. All right. That's it, guys. We're going to see you tomorrow. And thank you guys for your support for just being here. Hasta mañana.
Bonsoir.
Adios, amigos.